Business Ethics Assignment 1, Ethics and Stakeholders. Okay, for this assignment you'll need the following three things. You'll need the research booklet provided, which has got a load of case studies which you can use. That will give you enough information for the actual assignment itself. You can use a mission statement from the company's website, you will need to use that, and also the ethics workbook that we've worked through. So you'll need those three things. Okay, so you're basically writing a newspaper article for a local college newspaper. You've been asked to write an article focusing on the ethical issues that a particular business faces and what implications for the business and its stakeholders are. Basically, suggestions that you could use are the following, and these are all covered in the research booklet. So L'Oreal, Microsoft, Nike and Starbucks. Basically, if you look in that research booklet, there are several articles about each of those companies which you can use. Okay, so P1, your task is you're required to examine your chosen business and identify its activities from an ethical viewpoint. You will need to look at the business's mission statements and aims and objectives and describe how the business is attempting to show its stakeholders it is aware of the ethical concerns that apply. Ensure that you explain what is meant by the term ethical, business ethics, and outline the ethical issues any business should consider when operating its activities. What I would do is, if you go and look at the work booklet, the one that we worked through in class, you should find a suitable definition which you can use. Produce a brief introduction on the business that you've chosen. What do they do? Where do they work in? What markets do they work in? What do they specialise in? That's all you have to do for that section. Basically, you need to identify the organisation's missions, aims, statements and aims and objectives. You can get that from the website, and that's when you need to go and research it, so you need to actually go and Google it. You need to describe the ethical issues that are particularly relevant to your chosen organisation. Make sure that you explain each issue in detail using examples, and clarify whether the business is acting ethically or unethically in relation to the issue. So, for example, textiles, child labour. It might be textiles as well, looking at the manufacturing issues and the pollution that happens with it. Let's say if you chose Microsoft, it could be where the components come from, for like a tablet, the mining used and the precious metals used. There's issues there. If you look, there is a table with several different issues that we looked at, which was in the spider diagram in the booklet. So you need to give examples of how your chosen business shows it is aware of ethical issues. So basically, let's say a business like a coffee shop might be aware of trade union issue. How's it reacting to it? Whether it's positive or negative, how does it know it has an issue with that? Or it could be to do with supply, like the cost of something. Is it fair to pay that wage to someone? Are they trying to do something to, counteract that? So you need to think through those issues. Okay, if you read through the articles, those issues become very, very aware and are very clearly highlighted. Okay, so P2, A and B. Outline any possible implications a business may face when acting ethically. Explain using examples what stakeholders are, and comment on any conflicts of interest there may be between the organisation stakeholders. So in terms of the implications that a business may face when acting ethically, you'd probably want to think about what the costs involved, both positive and negative. It might not need to go that much, but you need to think about the implications of it, what happens in certain events. Explain using examples when the stakeholders are, and comment on any conflicts of interest there may be between organisation stakeholders. Now this you can use a table which we looked at in class. I'm happy for you to almost like echo that and just highlight what those possible conflicts are between stakeholders, much like business environment you did in the first year, but this time it's basically focused on the ethical dimension. Okay, P2, C and D. Comment on any benefits there may be to a business acting ethically. So what are the pros of that? So for example, it could be a marketing pro. It could be the fact that it might make people feel better, but you need to go and explore those issues in detail. We did cover them in class. Comment on any drawbacks there may be to a business acting ethically. So for example, it's difficult to change business's behaviour. That's one. You need to really think about the other issues as well. So go and have a look and study and think about it. M1. For this task, you're required to outline what your chosen organisation could do to improve its operational activities and make itself more ethical. Give examples to support your suggestions and state how these improvements would affect stakeholders. Make sure you give suggestions for improvement for each of the ethical issues that you identified as being relevant to your chosen business in task 1. So for example, it could be literally pay your employees a fair wage if they're being exploited, or pay your suppliers a higher wage. Or it could be something like recognise a trade union. It doesn't matter what the suggestion is, it's who does a trade union represent, which stakeholder does that represent, why are you paying more for something, where's that money going? So it's about making that link between the action of the business and the stakeholder. So you really need to draw that out, okay, and make it very clear. Now this is where it gets a little tricky in the D. For this task, you are required to evaluate the implications of a selected business's ethical behaviour on the stakeholders and the business. You need to consider, and this is the important part, the business's costs, profits, reputation, marketing activities, production, etc. So basically what you could do is look about you could develop the M part, and you could actually say what are the improvements on the business of costs and profits, reputations, marketing activities, if I actually implemented some of those changes. That would actually be completely adequate. So you can basically just build on the work from task 3, but actually say, well, make it more complex than what you're looking at, but actually think about how does it actually help business costs and profits? How does it help the reputation? Would there be more production made if they paid people a little bit more? Would people feel more protected? But also maybe evaluate doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to be positive. There could also be a negative side to that as well. And that's what you need to draw out as well. So obviously, if you pay people more, you will have to actually essentially maybe lose a bit in profit, but that's the whole point. Same with it might be difficult to change behaviour as well. So that's really what you can draw out. It's quite a chunky assignment, but I'm sure you'll all be able to manage it. I hope that makes it clear.